Cherry Bomb. Hi, welcome to Cherry Bomb. And a couple of weeks ago when we started this, we had every intention of talking about relationships in the time of the Rona. But of course, the whole world went to shit. So we needed to talk about what was going on. And then this week we thought, oh, things may have, calmed down, but no, they have ramped up. So we're going to talk about where we are, what's going on with us, and how all of this is affecting our relationships. I'm Tatum Durock.
I'm Dalila Ali Raja.
I'm Gloria Bigelow.
I'm Nikki Castor.
I'm Bethany Landing.
And so tell me, how has this week been for you? What is going on with you?
I feel like I've been up and down like a yo-yo. I'll be honest. Like I have moments where I feel very hopeful and inspired, like when I see like the Generation Y and Z out there protesting and with plans of what they want to do. I feel very inspired. And then when I look at the things that are still happening, I feel like that little ping of like, when is this going to get better?
Yeah, I've had that too. Like up and down, but two, like for that first week, I was like crying on and off almost all of the week, like having trouble functioning, but also like trying to do my best to like activism online because my mom is visiting. We have someone immunocompromised in the house. I don't feel comfortable like taking to the streets because I need to keep my family safe. And then it's like, I think either activism fatigue or something hit like a wall, so it didn't feel as heavy anymore. Like I was still doing stuff, but it's just either that or I just got used to feeling in this constant state of whatever and then shifted something. It felt like I kind of turned a corner a little bit maybe. I'm hopeful about a lot of stuff, but then it's also like the police right now are under so much scrutiny and they like killed 2 more Black people last week. It's like, this is when you're on your best behavior and you're still shooting people in the back. It's insane to me. And there's like 2 lynchings this week. So like for me, like, it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? But I'm also glad that it's like a huge protest throughout the world. Like it's the biggest civil rights demonstration in the world's history. It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I've been impressed with too, is just sort of everyone coming together all over the world. And I also have in the past couple of weeks appreciated seeing more, the people coming together and doing like these peaceful protests and sort of like trying to, call out or get rid of the people who are causing trouble, on the street. I mean, I have multiple friends that have said, hey, this was a really cool thing is that we were out there, everybody's peaceful. And if anyone tried to get crazy, they were like, no. Yeah.
Shut it down. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, personally, I had a family emergency that was just a whole other thing. So that was, that was a lot during this time. But outside of that, also, being in touch where I can, I'm glad that there's been some positive laws being changed. Like there's been some progress, and that makes me feel happy because I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. And in the same sense, recently, just working with people to try to nurture their self-care, and healing. I'm doing what I can where I can, So it's been a lot.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this. Oh, go ahead, T.
Yeah, I was thinking there's one thing about being sort of just over 3 months into lockdown, into a pandemic, and then having, this outpouring of activism in all directions, right? So you're dealing with people that are totally on the same page as you, that are coming out in droves, and you're also dealing with these like really resistant and sometimes being really upset with people that aren't. And like how much that stress of our lives are looking very different, our futures are looking very different. How much do you feel like you're yourself in your relationship right now? Like, do you think that all of this up and down is kind of changing your personality, revealing your personality? Like, how do you think you are operating in your relationship at the moment?
I think right now I have very little tolerance for things not being peaceful, because I feel so stressed by what's going on in the outside world, or stressed when I pick up my phone, that for me, like the love space, it got to be good. It got to be good. It got to be peaceful. It has to be nurturing and fulfilling, because we don't have the outside anymore like we used to. So that inside space to me has to be like yummy and just delicious. That's where I am right now. That's what I'm trying to cultivate. And anybody who with me, that's what we're cultivating right now. We are cultivating a yummy inside space, because the outside, not so great.
I love that. How do you do that when conflict arises? Like, how do you keep searching for the yummy?
So one, I was like, we have to have a conversation about it. Like, we need to talk about, like, all this stuff is going on, and it's so important to me that our inside space feels good. So this is what I want us to do. This is the plan. And so I think it's like, bring that affection to the table, bring those pets, bring those, what I call Skittles, which are like compliments, but like, bring those Skittles to the table, bring all of those things that fill each other's buckets, because now's the time.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Like, the gift is to appreciate the daily abundance and pleasures. And before our meals that we have together, especially, it's like prayer for me, and to, grace of just the water, the safety, the home, the air conditioning, the love that we have for each other, our bond. And we're taking it one day at a time. But that, and our family and our friends and Mother Earth, and just one day at a time, that foundation is very solid and loving and nurturing. And that's what just keeps a nice grounding and foundation, as well as taking care of like physical, emotional, mental health, because we cannot control the outside world, but right, we can take care of ourselves and just honor and appreciate our connection and the good things that we have. That gives attention, affection, and love each day, and it builds a stronger bond. And I think it's very healthy.
I hope everyone's in that situation, though. I always wonder about that, though. I feel really lucky right now that I have that in my current relationship, is that we can just talk about it and say, how are we doing? Like, we do it all the time. And so that's very, very, very healthy. But I know that there's a lot of people that probably were really worried about being quarantined with their partner, because it doesn't necessarily mean all those happy.
No, it doesn't.
Coming to the table either. So.
Yeah, me and my wife have ups and downs about that, but I also have a very low tolerance for any stress right now either, which is interesting. So like, when there's anything that feels like it's escalating, I'm just like, I just can't. I was like, I just can't do this. I can't do it. And I have to say, to her credit, in crisis, she's very good. She lived through, being in East Germany behind the wall. So like, crisis is like what was her bread and butter of survival for a long time. So like, she gets into that mode. She knows how to like handle stuff and do things and like make sure that we're settled in a certain way and taking care of things. But I also think in that mode, it's harder sometimes to find that space to communicate when you're in crisis mode all the time. So we've had to try and find a balance about it. And we're both also like activism kind of people. Like, she's one of the people that fought against to bring down the wall. And my dad, I come from a line of activists. So it's like, I need the peace, but there's also a part of me that has to do something, and that needs my partner to be the type of person that like supports that and wants to do something, but like in a way, like, it's so complex because of the pandemic, like wants to do something, is truly supportive, but also gets that there's like a serious health thing. So we can't just go run the street. We got to find a different way to do it. Or that if I'm completely depleted, that like, I may not be able to support or talk about a new idea to try and do something, and I just need to rest or just whatever. And I think like finding the grace for each other has been a big part of the thing, that like, if something is different, or if we're not able to handle something we used to be able to handle, to be like, okay, I get it, and just kind of be loving with each other about it,
How are you doing, Tatum?
Yeah, I feel like in a way, I was kind of a little bit the other way around, in that I feel like we were kind of like in this like flow of life and just needed to get things done. And we were like shelving problems as they came along, you know, like, I can't really deal with that right now. I'm just gonna, And this has, you know, because we're both at home, and we're navigating the same space, that actually a lot of those issues we can't shelve anymore. So this is, you know, we're definitely like, mirrors are up. We have to freaking look in them. There's no running away from it. And so for us, it's quite a different thing. We're getting therapy. I don't know if are you guys doing online therapy? Yeah. Do you do couples therapy? Do you do individual?
Both. I do both. It's
just me therapy right now.
For me, it helps to have both, because it allows me to have a space, like whatever we've digested in couples, it has a space for me to do it where there's somebody who's just focused on me about it, so that I can kind of talk it through and find tools for myself that are about my own self-soothing and self-care. Like I'm the one that's usually like the reacher. I have like anxious attachment style. Like I'm a reacher, and my wife is not that person. She's more of a distancer, the different attachment style. So it's like what I have to learn, especially when we're in a space this close with someone who's more of their tendency is to distance or want time alone. And I'm somebody who wants like affirmations and needs to hear that. Like sometimes they're not able to give that. Like that's a part of what I've had to learn through my own therapy process, is like, how do I give those things to myself, or recognize when it's like something that's actually out of balance that I'm wanting her to present or be or show me. That's not her job. It's not her job.
Yeah.
How did that feel to hear that?
I've always known that I was a reacher, and I actually asked my therapist, because we were talking about attachment styles, and she was actually talking about some other things around it. And I was like, well, what's mine? And you could tell she's kind of like, she doesn't want to like make it feel like she's like saying something negative or whatever. She's like, you seem like you have kind of an anxious attachment style, and then explained to me what that meant. And we'd been working on my self-soothing before that. But she was like, she explained, broke down all of them about like secure attachment style, disorganized, you know, I think it's like disorganized. And then there's avoidant, I think is the other one, right? And she's like, I myself am an anxious person as well. Like I'm an anxious attachment style. And she said, the other one is secure. She said, which is really basically like you're really completely balanced and doing good. She's like, and I've literally never met anybody who's that attachment style.
That's something for us to look into. I'm really curious about what these attachment styles are. We'll have to have an episode about that.
Yeah. The love languages, you know, I mean, you know, you also should figure that attachment style out. That's interesting. I never heard that. So
yeah, it's a big thing. That and apology languages too. I just found out this therapist is the bomb. Like I never knew apology languages existed, but just like we have love languages, we have apology languages, and they have like tests online that you can do to figure it out, and then how you can work with yourself and your partner so that you get apologies that actually are satisfying.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable, but it's something that I knew parts of, and at least it gave me a container to fit it in. And I didn't feel as alone about it, because she was also sharing that she has a similar thing, and we've been working on tools for it, which is, it helps to have tools to recognize it so that it doesn't become a thing where I'm just doing a spiral about the emotions. Like I realize it comes out of something else, you know?
Yeah.
And this is a time for spirals. This is a time for spirals, right? Like this is where they're coming fast and furious, and kind of knowing our spiraling style be. Do you know what yours is?
You know, I don't know what it takes to spiral me right now, because this has been one heck of a year. I mean, if I haven't spiraled into the abyss by now, I don't know what it's going to take. But
right.
I just feel, again, like what Nikki said, I just feel very lucky right now, because I feel like in my situation, it's very new. But I feel like what happened in this, it literally started hanging out, you know, going to dinner, whatever, before the quarantine happened. And then when the quarantine happened, we were like, well, hey, we've only been around each other for a little bit, so it's probably really safe to just quarantine kind of together, right? You know, and then it became like, oh, like we're together all the time. So it feels like this maybe 6 or 8 months of a relationship has been like squished into 3 months. So I was talking to my therapist about this, and I was like, is this like a terrible thing I'm doing right now? Is this horrible? And she's like, no. She goes, you are able to walk and chew gum at the same time. She's like, you can have feelings about everything that's going on with COVID and everything that's going on with the world and riots and the, you know, and you know, everything that's going on. You can have all these feelings, and yet you can still be starting this relationship out, and it's fine. It's healthy. You're doing everything right. You're talking, you're doing it. I was like, okay, because I really have a tendency to question every single thing that I do and say, is this right or wrong or whatever.
I mean, just hearing that, right? So like an 8-month relationship in 3 sounds really healthy. Like, I mean, I've been in this relationship on and off for 12 years. These last 3 months feel like 35, right? Like we've dealt with more stuff in 3 months than we have in the last 12 on and off years of a relationship. So actually, like just even the fact that you used 8 months as a thing, I was like, oh, that's pretty good, you know? Because time is this weird
Irrelevant.
moment.
It's irrelevant in some, and really.
I think sometimes it's relevant, but I also think doing stuff in a way where you're aware of it. Like, I think it's a different thing when you're framing it for yourself. You have an awareness of what you're going into, and that it's a truncated amount of time so that you don't, you know, fully know each other, but that you're getting to know each other. Like, I remember there's like this story ages ago where Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith were talking about that they talked to all these other couples, but when they were getting married or going through like some problems about like what were the things that they found that worked, et cetera, and they were having some sort of problem. And they went to Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. And I think at this point, they started that when they first started their relationship, and then when they were having problems, they went back to her. And at this point, they've been together for like 18 years, and Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis have been together for like 50. And Jada went to talk to Ruby Dee, and she's like, well, I just don't know. And Ruby Dee's like, how long y'all been together? 18 years? She said, baby, you don't even know him yet.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Because you get to, there's like deeper and deeper levels that you find of people over the years. So I think having an awareness of that, but also an acceptance of letting yourself feel what you feel in every moment and talk it through, it's a balance, I think. I think it matters, but it's a balance. It doesn't mean you shut it down because of that.
See, part of my problem is that's what I would do. I would shut it down because of that. To me, I'm like, I don't want to have too many ups and downs. I don't, you know, like, I just want sail it. So that's my vulnerability issue. But anyway, yeah.
And how is that met? Is it met with smoothness? Have you like set your eye on that prize and it's returned that way?
I'm surprised that I am able to stick around even after conflict, because I'm like pretty conflict avoidant and I don't like it. I don't want to be in it. I don't want no parts of it. So to be able to have like usually for me, like, I think every argument or every fight is getting ready to be the end because I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, I'm not doing it. And I'm seeing now, I won't speak positive, but I may be able to like stick it out beyond an argument and a fight to get to the other side where there could be some like growth and something sweeter. Because usually I either shut down emotionally because I know I'm going to break out because of this, or I just leave. So
yeah. They say like long-term relationships, anybody who's been in like really, which doesn't happen as much nowadays, but like those relationships have gone like for 30, 40, 50 years. They always go through like major transitions, major ups and downs. Most people report that they've fallen out of love and back in love with their partner. They sometimes fall in love with other people, but they, you know, most of the time back in the day, I think for queer people, it was like you had to be so closeted that when you found somebody, like people stuck through it. And then I think for more, you know, cishet normalized ideas of this whole relationship thing, it was because women weren't supposed to leave. You were supposed to do certain things. But I think the other side of that is that people moved through to the other side into that sweetness, and they found the sweetness again on the other side of it and fell back in love. One of my friends talks about like her parents, watching her parents do that and remembering being little and seeing them when they didn't touch and they weren't around each other, and then seeing when they started falling back in love again and making note. And that she said it's made a huge difference in how she approached marriage, like that she watched them actually go through all of those layers, so that when the distance part happened for her with people, she didn't, with her partner, she didn't assume that that meant the end. It meant something different for her.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm envious of that. I mean, that did not happen, you know, in my situation. I feel like, you know, when it comes out of nowhere that someone is cheating on you and you don't even have any idea, you don't know why that's happening. It just reminds you of, you're like, oh my God, like people just throw stuff away like that now. I feel like my parents were married for 65 years. And I'm like, that is ups and downs, you know what I mean? And I just feel like I really wanted that. Like I was like, I could have swore that I had that. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I find out I didn't have that, at least from the other party in the relationship. So, you know, people throw stuff away so easy. And I think that we need to, you know, I mean, I know what you're saying, Glow. It's like you have a thing happen and you're like, I'm out. You know, I get that though.
Well, some things I do think you got to be out for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Some things.
Some things you do, but I'll tell you what, the way that we used to disagree, argue, whatever, conflict, things that would come up, what worked is we verbally said we are on the same team. So that one thing, no matter what we said, and I'll tell you what, we both have our Mercury in Libra. We like to communicate our emotions, our thoughts. And she's a doctor, I'm, you know, holistic, and we practice what we preach. And we have uncomfortable conversations all the time. And things that you would think would throw away, or is it uncomfortable to talk about, or this, and we just address it and we honor it. And if it sounds whatever way, we know we're on the same team, and we let our emotions be true and sincere, and it works. It is so loving, it is so safe, it is so honored and appreciated, and then one day at a time.
That same team thing, I think, is a huge thing. I say that in my relationship too. Like when things, I'm like, you know what, we're on the same team. We want the same thing. So let's try to, you know, but I think that that's a mindset that not everyone has, and it's something that has to be cultivated. Like, we're on the same team, and I mean that same team for everything. Like for household, I mean the same team. I mean,
yes,
I watch you drive. We're on the same, like we're a team, and we're on the same team. So how you talk to me matters because we're on a team, and how I talk to you matters because we want the same thing.
It matters how people are invested in that thing. Like I think like what you guys are talking about, like I think it is very on point. It's like, but like what Bethany, like my first marriage, a part of why, like I was one of those people that was like, we will never get divorced. Like I was just that, I was like, I'm never leaving this person, that it's not gonna, like we will work it through. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of shit that I put up with, forgave, moved through, all of that. And what was my final straw that had me actually leave was he was experiencing discomfort about something. And it was something that we had completely agreed on, talked about beforehand, all that. And all of a sudden he was acting upset about in this very weird way I'd never experienced before, and told me he's not sure he could do it. Like I was like, after 12 years, 2 evictions, and all this other shit that and multiple times in the beginning of our relationship, infidelity. After 6 weeks, you're not sure you can do it? And his response was, I'm not you.
Cool.
Bet. Because I was like, I've been operating that there was only A, B, and C. I didn't know there was a D. I didn't know that was one of the options.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a no. but a part of that was like a breach. It was a breach of trust. Like if we were both saying we're in this and we're going to forgive and we're going to move through stuff, and I'm operating like that for the entire time we're together, and then you tell me 12 years in that a part of you has been operating from, if you're uncomfortable, you can just jet.
I agree with you, Dalila. It's that's what builds the trust, is an experience that trust is shown and lived by example. And that's how it gets built, because you have a real experience over and over again that you're showing up and saying, we're on the same team and I'm proving it. We're proving it.
Yeah, I think it's, oh, sorry, Tatum, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so I wonder, like, because I think this is how also people show their allegiance, right? Because in some relationships, it's about being in it and not looking for the door, you know, when things come up. And that is the way that you show that you're on the same team and that you're on this, you're on the same side. For me, a love language or a thing that somebody's on my team is if they basically let me know that it will be okay if I leave or they leave. I need to know that they would take care of me even if it wasn't working. I need that to be talked out, and I need to know that it's not all going to go to shit. And so for me, like, I kind of need to look at the door, otherwise I feel trapped. It doesn't mean that
the door is always open. I agree. Door is always open, choosing to be together because you want to.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, that's like a really profound difference between how people show like that they're on the same team. So I want someone to, like, even if it wasn't going well, to be like, I you know, I would understand if this wasn't right for you, and I would do these things and I would say the same, you know. And that to me would be like a really, that someone would love me enough that they would let me go into the world.
We have those conversations. I think they're very healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't love somebody conditionally. When you love them unconditionally, you want the best for them to be happy, with or without you.
I mean, I think for sure, like, I want my people, anybody that I love enough to connect with them in a deeper, intimate way. I want them to be happy and healthy, period. And I want our relationship to be happy and healthy. And I think it's more important for me to give myself permission to get out if it's not healthy for me than to feel like they're giving me permission. Because if whatever is making me feel like I need to go is not something that they could reassure me by letting me know that they're going to stay the same with me. It wouldn't reassure me of that. It's like I have to give myself the space to be like, if this isn't working, I may have to dip, and it won't be because I don't love you, but it won't. I have to find enough value in myself and enough self-worth that if it's not showing up in a way that's healthy for me, that I'm willing to walk away, whether they say that's okay or not.
Yeah, I think from that degree, I was looking at it from the inside personally, like, I love you so much, you're free. I love myself so much, the door's always open. So I didn't look at it like from one, I looked at it from both angles. Personally first, from the outside, live and let live. Your choice, whatever's best for you. I'm happy. If you're happy, cool, stay.
Yeah.
I'm happy, cool, we'll stay.
I think it's the thing, you said something about like having your own feeling of like self-worth and that affecting you, because I think sometimes when your self-worth takes such a dip, like, I think that's where the thing comes in. Like, what if my self-worth is so low? Would that other person step up and go, I see your self-worth is trailing behind you. Let me try and pick it up for you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would look for. But even if I couldn't do it myself, would they step up for that?
Very funny, because it reminds me of, my girlfriend always says to me, like, you always take care of yourself first. And I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Can't do shit for you from an empty cup.
But what's good about that is that she's not required to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna take care of myself, and that's great. And then we can take care of our own space. But like, I do feel like I have to come first for myself.
Has anyone had like a dip in self-worth with work not being the same, or social life not being the same, or not getting that, you know, because I think sometimes, like, even in our relationships, like, we don't necessarily always get a reflection back that we do when we're around our friends and we've got that, like, those other interactions. Like, has anyone kind of felt like their confidence dip, or have your partner's confidences taken a dip from everything that's going on?
I think something's dipped, but it isn't my confidence. I think I get fed a lot because I'm such an extrovert by my interactions with people. It's really like a thing that lifts me up. So like, I haven't felt as creative. I haven't, like, there's a lot of things that were going on. And I realized over time, I was like, oh, a lot of the things that feed my well really involve interacting with others and collaborating. And so when that's missing, it does do something. But on the flip side, what it's also done is, because I'm not usually seeing people and I'm not often on like a Zoom or whatever, I found like, what do I actually want to wear today when I'm not considering anybody else is going to be looking at me? What actually makes me, purely me, feel yummy? Like, what way? Like, child, I ain't worn my hair like this, I don't think, since I was at Spelman. And I was just like, I just feel like just brushing my hair down and not really doing shit else with it. And that's what's gonna go down. That's what's gonna go down. And it's also gonna go down on a Zoom when we're filming Cherry Bomb, because that's just what I feel like today. So it's like, it gave me permission to do that. But I think it also caused like a dip in something too, because I was getting a lot fed by like lots of auditions or a lot of work coming through that I, you know, was feeling like more actualized in my career than I had been in years past. And then like everything slowed down. So that makes it harder. It's like I was finally finding more momentum and fulfillment around career stuff, and then I couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, you were talking about seeing, you know, a dip in your partner. Like, something that was really a bummer for me, I guess if I say that, is that when I feel like I did that in my last relationship, I was like, hey, things aren't going as well for you. Like, you know, you're not liking your job. You're this, you know, let me lift you up. Like, let me try to help you. Let me be your other half that can do that for you. And that ended up getting met with, you know, you're emasculating me because, you know, I mean, that's what ended up happening.
Insecure. Ungrateful.
Yes, and I just,
I'm saying,
I remember, like, you know, I'm talking about this in therapy, but, you know, I feel like going, oh, okay, should I learn a lesson here and be more like Glow and put myself first? Because what I was doing all the time is just that was my nature of just putting the other person first. It's like, how are you feeling about everything? Are you down? Let me help lift you up. And I'm like looking around going, oh, who's lifting me up? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's why it's one of those things that is a deal breaker. It's just, you know, I didn't know that my deal needed to be broken until it was broken. And then now I realize all these things, you know? So.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're so loving and good. You're, you know, that kind of nature.
Change.
That kind of nature in you, though, is celebrated by somebody that's a compliment, not abused or warped or twisted, you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Tatum? What about you and your household? Did either of you experience something like that?
So I think, I mean, we're navigating some really interesting territory. So I just realized, you know, so going back to that, it takes 18 years. Like, what did she say? You don't even
know yet.
You don't even
so yeah, like almost 12 years in, I realized that my partner's on the spectrum. And I didn't know because there wasn't a lot of talk about it in women. Like we think of what that looks like in men, but even like professionals weren't identifying it. And most women don't get diagnosed until they're in their late 30s, whereas men get diagnosed when they're boys. So there's a really big difference in that. And so a lot of ways that we've been navigating this relationship of me not understanding certain things, like now there are some answers, but now, of course, coronavirus came and threw out all our routines. Yeah. And for someone on the spectrum who has invested in her routines, who has a space for things and things in their space, and now we're in sharing space. That is incredibly challenging, you know, like that is, it's challenging for her, like having to navigate that. And, you know, we're having to, yeah, kind of look with new eyes on a mountain of baggage that we have. But thank God for people like Hannah Gadsby coming out and talking about it. And, you know, like finally, I think it's way more common in women than a lot of people think.
I'm starting to think that I might be on the spectrum. I'm going to do some research.
Yeah.
You think?
See, the way it thinks I am. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm just.
I don't know. I don't know if I would think you're on the spectrum or not. You do love your routines though.
You are a creature of habits. I mean, you like things. You like
and like order.
I ate broccoli every single day when I lived with you, Bethany.
Yes. Yes.
I ate broccoli every single day, and I burned it every single.
That I remember.
You remember how much she burnt broccoli in our house?
Well, I lived with her before she lived with you.
Yes, right.
Every single. Like there's certain.
The broccoli burning was still happening.
Yeah, I have very specific things. I'm just going to do some research. Don't worry about it. No need to stop. I'm just going to like.
Well, you know, I'm really interested in this because I can't eat the same food every day. So I am so interested in when
That's
people.
so funny. My wife is like that too, and she looks at me like I'm crazy because I can eat tacos so often.
Tacos are yummy though.
I mean, if you can't get some taco love on this show.
To be fair, tacos are delicious. Burnt broccoli, not as much.
I do love broccoli.
Burnt broccoli is delicious.
I do love broccoli.
A few times. Sorry, Nikki, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just adding on. I love tacos. I love broccoli, not burnt broccoli, but I do love broccoli. So I get some of these routines, and I have some of my own. And if we really wanted to, we could have Dr. Layla come on and give us some diagnoses. I don't know that we want to. I don't know that I want to.
I'm just gonna.
She can diagnose all of us.
She could. I mean, she's a doctor.
Okay.
She works with. Yeah, I mean, she could.
This is an interesting twist. We need to have everyone's partner come on and talk about their.
I don't know that we should. No, but she could. She could. Yes. She could also interpret if we wanted to draw like photos of ourselves or a house, or she could.
Analyze? What do you analyze?
There's nowhere to hide with her.
No, I don't hide. They're not to.
I know it's
I like it like that. She can't either. The thing is she can't either. You know, like I have my own special gifts that I can read and just call out intuitively, and so it's very healthy. So if I'm just saying that maybe that's an idea, I would have to run that by her, but it could be quite interesting amongst us all.
We'll have to talk about that. I don't know.
All of us are like partnered during this Rona madness. Does anybody have any like single friends and like how they're navigating what's happening during this time? Like I've got a few that it's been very challenging, from like one friend who like is also like super germaphobe. So like she spent literally 7 weeks not going out of her studio apartment and cleaning it so much when the guys had to come in and do maintenance on something that was necessary that she made herself sick on Clorox. It was like bad. Because it was so heightened, and still feeling like such loneliness, but also feeling like I can't go anywhere. To like another friend who happens to also be poly, but like actually I have a couple friends that are poly that like trying to navigate dating in their singlehood, and like, are they gonna just like say we're gonna do the Rona together with like one person, or like another person who just started dating somebody at the beginning, like right before COVID hit. And they were all poly. So like their pod had decided like once COVID hit, they were not going to let anybody else in. They were going to only deal with the vectors that they've already created with the people that they're dating in their pod, but that somebody was falling for somebody at the beginning. So then they had to have conversations within the first 3 months about either opening it up or not for safety reasons, which I think is really interesting, like trying to navigate this during the middle of that. Gloria's whole face, your whole face.
I'm thinking that's a lot. And then I look at Glow face, and I'm like, oh, Glow's thinking the same thing I am. That's a lot.
Pods and vectors. I don't know.
So pods, for poly people, it's like a group of people that you've decided that you're going to be connected or intimate with, that is like a commitment. Like, you may not all be together. It may be like one person has a boyfriend and a girlfriend or two boyfriends or whatever, and they're dating them. And if they are also dating people, like whoever's in the committed relationships with individuals involved in the relationship is a part of a pod, because there's multiple people, even if they aren't all interacting directly with each other. What each of them does actually really affects all the other people in the pod.
Were they considered pods before COVID?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if this was like
that was something before COVID. Okay. Now, how people are navigating the health and around, like, not just sexual health, but like pandemic health is a part of the thing when you're dealing with a poly group, because a part of the navigating is that people are dating multiple people usually. And how do you do that during a pandemic when you're supposed to socially distance?
I'd say that would be very tricky for me, because I'm already like really into like COVID responsibility, and I'm just like, I'm already like checking when she comes in, like how long timing she wash her hands, and it's already like, so imagine me having to do that or feeling like I had to do that for other people as well. Like I'm already next level with it. And the day she said, how long is this going to carry on? I was like, until there's a vaccine.
Right. and until the vaccine's proven. It's like our asses, we come in, we clean the bottoms of our shoes with Lysol, we drop all of our clothes and immediately wash them. Anything that comes to the house gets wiped down. I keep meaning to send you guys this article so we can talk about it at some point that talks about like what percentage of like COVID safety are you, and then is that the same as like your partner or other people in your life?
Yeah. Oh, I did see a test like that online. I did see a test like that.
Well, you send me that, because we've taken that test today.
I'm kind of feeling like, we don't do any of that with the shoes and the clothes and
Well, think about it.
I think it's about like whether you're matched, right? Like is your safety level on the same as your person? And it is kind of like, when they come in, I'm sometimes like, when I go out, I have like, my hand wipes and sanitizer and everything. And sometimes I'll look at Laura and I'm like, where's your sanitizer? And I'm like, are you just relying on the fact that I have it in my bag? Like, or would you be out without your sanitizer? Mm-hmm. Like there are those discussions that we never used to have before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really thought, clothes, I haven't done anything.
It seems like there's more to this, so we should continue our relationship talk, because I feel like it's integrated in everything.
Yeah.
It feels like there's more to talk about with this.
Yeah. And I think it's close to time, if not over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's our takeaways?
Pause.
I would take a break if I was in a polypod. I would just take a break right now. I would just unpod for a minute. But that's just me.
Doesn't work for everybody. That's like saying like, okay, so we just gonna break up with your person.
It's hard.
Communication is hard.
It's so hard, you guys.
Hard. It is hard.
Oh God.
All right. My takeaway is really that you don't even know them yet. Like that idea of just like 18 years with someone and you're just like, scratch the surface. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly agree with that. Right now, my 10 years, I thought I knew, but I guess I didn't know. So she's absolutely right. 18 years, you still don't know.
Yeah. Something new all the time. It's complex. People complex. The world complex. It's complex.
We are complex.
Complex.
Yeah. I think my takeaway is just, again, being on the same team really, and experience builds trust, and so does time, and people show themselves. And I'm just grateful for you ladies and today, and we'll just do the best we can to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Right? And our relationships that we do have that are loving and good.
Yeah.
Tatum, what's your takeaway?
It's not really a takeaway, it's just a paranoia of how Layla was
Glad we left you with that. Glad we'll leave you with that. Now she's gonna be taking her, shedding her clothes. All right.
Take it at the front door. Cheers.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Love you guys.